Miss Nalley, we're about to begin.
He's still going?
All right. The January 10th, 2018 Board of Education meeting is now called to order. Please stand for the invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance. Stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. The pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to this meeting of the Board of Education. This meeting is being televised live on AACPS TV and live streamed on the internet. General information and protocols for the meeting are posted on the sign by the doorway as you enter the room, so please make sure to read those if you have not already. Item number 2.03 is approval of the minutes. Okay. Any changes, additions? All right, all those in favor? Okay. Item 2.04 is established agenda order, and the agenda stands as ordered. Item 2.05 is board recognitions, and we don't have any, although I do have to point out that as of today, our student board member, Lucia Cole, is able to vote. It is her birthday. Happy birthday, Lucia. And she's already registered to vote. What a wonderful example she's setting. Item 2.06 is Educator of the Month, Miss Nalley.
Today, the Board of Education recognizes a national board certified teacher in our school system who is truly special in every sense of the word. As each and every day, she supports and encourages challenging elementary-aged special education students. Lisa Whipp spends her days at Marley Glen maintaining a classroom of 7 students who have significant intellectual, behavioral, visual, and/or motor difficulties. She consistently follows behavioral intervention plans for each individual student, utilizing first-then boards, token systems, built-in breaks, reinforcers, and fidgets, while still managing to follow a highly modified county-wide curriculum. Because of the significant challenges facing her students, Lisa must constantly modify materials in all subject areas. She utilizes enlarged picture symbols, real objects, speech-activated communication devices, music, and art in order to ensure that each of her students successfully meet the goals and objectives of their individualized education plans. Lisa strives to train and mentor the teaching assistants that work in her classroom so they can be successful in their work environment and contribute positively to the overall functioning of the classroom. She coordinates specific times to meet with all the specialists that provide services to her students, of which there are many: pathologists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, teachers of the visually impaired, mobility and coordination specialists, behavior specialists, social workers, and aqua therapists, just to name a few. She provides insights regarding each student, which better enable the specialist to have positive interactions with the students, leading to greater success towards the mastery of the students' IEP goals and objectives. Lisa is the committee chairperson for the Positive Behavioral and Intervention Supports Program at Marley Glen. She attends countywide meetings and reports information back to staff at monthly meetings. She also organizes and carries out the school-wide PBIS incentive programs and ensures that Marley Glen maintains a gold medal rating from the PBIS Oversight Committee. The importance of that position at Marley Glen, a school that deals consistently and effectively with students who have significant behavioral challenges, cannot be overstated. Lisa Whipp, you play a major role in the lives of your students. You are the link between Marley Glen parents and their children, some of whom are not able to go home and communicate with their parents about their school day. Remaining in close contact with parents through daily notes, phone calls, and emails is a constant source of appreciation and critical to the success of their children. So, on behalf of the Board of Education and the students and staff of Anne Arundel County Public Schools, congratulations on being awarded Educator of the Month for 2018. Please join me up front. Well, it sounds like you are very busy. Congratulations. Thank you. What lie did they tell to get you?
A structured teaching, come here and just stand and say hi. They did very well.
Oh, good. So you didn't have to prepare a speech or anything.
I was hoping not.
Well, I saw a lot of people come in.
Yes.
Who's here?
My daughter, my parents, my aunt and uncle, and one of my teammates who is also a very good friend is here.
Oh, wonderful. Well, there'll be a picture time later on, so make sure and stay. Thank you. Thank you so much. On behalf, I'd like to present you with this certificate and with this bell. You can now ring and call.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for all you do for the students.
I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you. You are very special for our students. Thank you. Thank you.
Item 2.07 is Employee of the Month. Ms. Sasso.
Today, we honor an employee in our school system who always acts behind the scenes, keeping everything flowing and on track in every job she performs. Her customer service is beyond expectation and could easily be a model used in any school in the county in any job she performs. Whether she's serving as an IEP clerk, a media assistant, or a school secretary at Glendale Elementary, Connie Fortney is the epitome of a professional. Connie was nominated for Employee of the Month in 2016 while serving in two roles, IEP clerk and media assistant, and her recommendation was glowing. So glowing that when a position became open to support the Glendale Regional Program as secretary, her reputation preceded her, and she was the perfect person for the position. Please allow the board to share the words of her assistant principal, Jessica Roach, when she was informed about Connie winning the Employee of the Month recognition. Connie's continuous positivity, can-do attitude, and determination to learn and grow make her the perfect fit for a secretary position. She has transformed the office with her organizational skills and has created a welcoming environment for all visitors to the regional program at Glendale. She greets everyone with a smile and is always helping with projects and incentives for the kids. Any child that comes into the office is offered kind words and positivity. When parents call, she is always pleasant, helpful, and genuinely concerned about their well-being. She's willing to help anyone in any part of the building. She often steps in to help the secretaries in the main office cover their lunches or fill in when they are short-handed. She continues to support our IEP meetings and schedules. She reaches out to parents to provide reminders and makes sure everyone has what they need for successful meetings. Words cannot describe the value of her contribution to the families and staff at Glendale. She has been an absolute asset to our community. Connie Fortney, you have been referred to as a true treasure at Glendale. You put the school, the staff, and the community above your own needs. You exude teamwork, and you weave all of the threads that keep the fabric of Glendale in perfect working order. So on behalf of the Board of Education, the teachers, students, and staff of Anne Arundel County Public Schools, congratulations on being awarded Employee of the Month for January 2018. May you join me up front, please. I know they lied to people to get them here, so what lie did they tell you?
That we're creating a new attendance system that we're piloting at Glendale.
great work over there.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know, that's a good day to play hooky from school. Item 2.08 is Volunteer of the Month, Ms. Korblack.
There are many words and phrases that describe our Volunteer of the Month. Goes above and beyond, devoted, exemplary, a blessing, and finally, every school needs a volunteer like Mrs. Rutanya Quarles-Miles. As Kimberly Bebo said, Mrs. Quarles-Miles comes to school at all hours of the day and night with a smile on her face, eager to help the families and staff at Marley Elementary School feel appreciated. In addition to being president of the PTA for the past 3 years, Rutanya is also one of our most reliable parent volunteers. In addition to her duties as the PTA president at Marley Elementary School, Mrs. Quarles-Miles organizes all of the fundraisers at the school, helps with events such as the hearing and vision screening, and supports teachers by providing breakfast, lunch, and treats. As if this doesn't keep her busy enough, she also runs events such as Grandparents' Day, Trunk or Treat, Family Movie Nights, Mom and Son's Night, and Dad and Daughter's Night. Sandy Lemoncello, Reading Intervention Specialist at Marley, said that Mrs. Quarles-Miles makes Marley an enjoyable place to work. Mrs. Lemoncello goes on to say that Mrs. Quarles-Miles goes out of her way to make teachers feel appreciated and plans exciting activities for the students. Mrs. Quarles-Miles also keeps the Marley Elementary School community updated by running the Facebook page for the school. Jody Grau, first grade teacher and dance coach at Marley Elementary, said that it is clear that Mrs. Quarles-Miles spends hours planning fun events for the students throughout the year. She will even work on sight words with students. Mrs. Quarles-Miles is a blessing to the community. No request is too big or too small. You simply ask, and she makes it happen. We would be lost without her, said Mrs. Christy Batista, principal. Mrs. Bebo said that Mrs. Quarles-Miles always goes above and beyond the call of a volunteer and helps Marley Elementary run smoothly every day. Mrs. Quarles-Miles, you are a great asset to the Marley Elementary and Anne Arundel County Public Schools community, and we are truly grateful for your years of service as a volunteer. Would you please come forward? With great appreciation, I would like to present you with the Volunteer of the Month certificate and the bell.
Congratulations. Crazy right now. This is your certificate and your bell. Thank you. So what trick did they play on you today? They told me we were coming here for Miss Batista. Okay. This is riding along. But I knew something kind of was up when my husband was off today. So who else walked in? My husband and then Miss Lemoncello and Miss Bebo. Great. We're so grateful, and we're going to do pictures afterward. Thank you.
Item 2.09 is School and Community Highlights. Ms. Nalley.
Well, I just want to, I noticed when Mrs. Fortney was recognized that Christy Mitchell-Snyder was in the audience, and I do have to recognize her as principal at Glendale, but one of my former teachers at Davidsonville. So, thank you for being glad you're here.
Dr. Arlotto.
Yes, thank you. I did want to wish Lucia a happy birthday. There aren't many 18-year-olds who can say they spent the better part of their 18th birthday conducting a board meeting, so congratulations. You're wonderful. I did also want to announce that Meade High School sophomore Nina Huff is one of 4 finalists to be the next student member of the State Board of Education. Nina was notified of this honor this week, and she'll take part in the upcoming Maryland Association of Student Council's legislative session on February 3rd, where she will prepare and deliver her campaign speech. And that's when the vote will take place, and we'll know at that time. Nina is a member of the volleyball team and swim teams at Meade High School. She is fabulous, and she is, and I'm sure it's the highlight of her each and every month, she's a member of the Superintendent's Teen Advisory. So we wish her all the best, and fingers crossed for Nina. Thank you.
Ms. Korblack.
I just wanted to say thank you to the Teachers Association for hosting their annual legislative breakfast last weekend and providing an opportunity for us to get a little bit of an update on what's ahead for the General Assembly, which started today.
And I just want to encourage people, there's a great opportunity coming forward that's being sponsored by the Department of the Special Education Department and the CCAC. Ross Green will be speaking on collaborative and proactive solutions to behavioral challenges, and that will be this evening here at the board office. And then there's also 2 opportunities on Thursday at 8 a.m. and again at 12:30 p.m. at Riva Trace Baptist Church. And this is free for any parents or teachers that want to come, and this will be a great opportunity that's being offered by the school system to people. And the information for that is also on the website. And I want to give a shout out. The past couple of weeks have been very challenging for everyone based on weather and things going on. We've had unprecedented cold weather for an extended period of time, and the facilities and technology crew and all of the staff here at AACPS has gone above and beyond to keep things running and keep things going. There was a crew that spent New Year's Eve working on one of our schools that had pipes are bursting and furnaces are giving out when it's minus degrees every day, and they have just done a heroic job. And so hats off to everyone, facilities, technology, bus drivers, everyone that's had to deal with all this weather. You've done a fabulous job. Thank you. And now we will take a short break to have some pictures. All of our volunteers, please head out to the lobby so we can get some pictures with you. Okay, we are back in order, and I'm sorry, item 2.10 was to be a CAC report, which we do not have today. 2.11 PTA report we also don't have today, so didn't want people to think I had skipped that. Also, when I spoke about the Ross Green presentation, I said it was here at River Road tonight. It is not. It's at Annapolis High School right down the road. So, next is public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not on today's agenda may offer testimony during this public comment portion of the meeting. Speakers are allotted 3 minutes each and may not allocate their time to others. A tone will sound when time has expired. The board asks that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audiences that may be watching or viewing this meeting. Student-specific and personnel matters are confidential and cannot be discussed in this forum. It is not the board's general practice to engage in question and answer session with speakers. For the record, please give your name before speaking, and handouts should be given to the board assistant. So I have Vicki Bringday. I'm sorry, I think I'm saying that wrong. Lyndon Wynn and John Earl. You can.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Vicki Bringley, and I'm here to share with you an incident that happened at my school, Old Mill High School, the afternoon of November the 17th. And I'm here because I have not felt that anything in particular has taken place to help the situation resolve. So on the afternoon of the 17th, I received a phone call from Dr. Lyons, who is the vice principal there, letting me know that my son was in his office. So first of all, I was a little taken back, and he proceeded to tell me that my son had been hit by a vehicle as he was crossing the crosswalk to go to the student parking lot. He did not have details at that time to share with me, but wanted to let me know that my son was in his office. So I wanted to, at that time, I was very concerned, for the safety of not just my son, but of other students in the complex. As the students were leaving school, dismissal, there were about 7 kids that were crossing the crosswalk, in a crosswalk, going from Old Mill Complex to the back parking lot where the students are parked. These 7 kids were all juniors, all boys, all very smart, athletic students, and as they were crossing it, they noticed that there was a car coming at a high speed and had no attempt to stop. So most of the students were able to jump out of the way. My son had not been in a position where he could jump out of the way of the vehicle, so he jumped up and then was hit by the car and landed on top of the car. So the information that I had received at that time, and I had, gotten phone calls from other parents that were involved. So he told me he was going to do some investigation and then call me back. And so I got a phone call about an hour later, and in the meantime, both of my sons were involved. So my other son was with my son that was injured. They were texting me, sending me pictures of the vehicle and everything. So my biggest concern when I spoke with the vice principal was, okay, this happened. Now my son was not injured to the point where, he had to be taken away on a stretcher or anything, but he was hit by a vehicle. And my biggest concern is the fact that I wanted to know what kind of procedures we can put in place so this doesn't happen again. Or had it happened 2 hours later when it was in middle school students, a smaller student would not have been able to get out of the way of the vehicle. I also questioned why the gentleman that had hit him had not had to go through procedures of checking in the front of the school like most parents would. If you have to come into the school, you have to sign in, give them your driver's license and everything. Is that my time? Okay. So just in closing, I am not satisfied with the response that I have received back from the school. I have reached out a couple times asking what we're going to do to make sure that the students are safe when they leave the school. I was told that they were trying to possibly put in some speed bumps, but this would take an act of God, and it was going to take a long time. So that's when I was advised to come here and share with you my case.
Thank you. Would you take a minute and meet with the Associate Superintendent, Dr. Kubik, so you can give some of the details?
Sure.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Linda Gwen. I'm the mother of 2 children who will be attending Shadyside Elementary School. I'm here today to ask a simple question. How does community input inform your decision-making process? I've been coming to speak before this board for many months now, and I was present on November 1st when over 400 signatures against the construction of a cell tower at Shadyside Elementary were submitted to this board. Since that meeting, I was curious to know how many positions for and how many positions against have you received for the proposed cell tower. So I submitted the question via Maryland's Public Information Act. I will read for you what I received from Bob Mosier, Communications Director, on December 13th. Arundel County Public Schools does not keep an official tally of comments supporting and opposing the cell tower project. I'll repeat that. Arundel County Public Schools does not keep an official tally of comments supporting and opposing the cell tower project. If you're not willing to track public comments, I'll go back to my simple question. How does community input inform your decision-making process? Mosier continues. In an effort to be transparent to your inquiry, however, I have hand-counted responses received by Superintendent Arlotto and/or the Board of Education office. Additionally, I have added in tallies supplied by Milestone Corporation in a document sent to AACPS. The information below does not count material sent to me by individual board members that were not sent to the Superintendent or Board of Education office. It also does not count telephone calls or names on online petitions. To date, AACPS has received 53 comments in support of the cell tower project and 30 comments opposed to the cell tower project. That's the end of the response. So what this clearly illustrates is that your math is quite convenient for your predetermined decision, especially when Milestone helps you tally your information. What it also illustrates is that public opinion does not matter in your decision-making process. Why did you even hold a community engagement meeting in Shadyside about the cell tower project last summer? Because it was a requirement to check the box? Have any of you watched the video from that meeting? Do you think that Milestone accurately recorded for you what happened at that meeting? Anyone who has seen or listened to that meeting can see that that was just a smokescreen, as what was reported by Milestone and reviewed by you were fallacies. Your decision-making process, with the exception of Board Member Grannon, is clearly uninformed and verging on negligence, given your responsibilities to the schools and the communities that they serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Earl?
Good morning. I'm John Earl from Shadyside, Maryland. This is my probably my 5th or 6th time coming to talk to you about the cell tower at Shadyside Elementary School. And the first couple times I came, it became very clear that the board in general is pretty ignorant to the current realities of the dangers that you're putting your students in every day with these cell towers going up at schools. So my community, myself, tried to educate you to help you learn the realities. So you can't plead ignorance at this point. Your willingness to do nothing, to not take action, to ignore our input is negligent, and I would say borderline criminal. Today I'm looking for answers. I want you to tell me where you're getting your information, What study can you cite that says that a school is an appropriate place to build a cell phone tower? I mean, see, again, no response. I'd like a meeting with you, any of you, all of you. I've requested meetings. What study can you cite that says cell phone towers are safe to be put on schools? Show me something. I'm going to stay around today. I'm going to speak with you. I'm going to try and set up some sort of meeting where we can have dialogue. Milestone had at their side a school board representative, Greg Stewart, helping them through the entire process. Misinformation from him about a vote. Where's our Greg Stewart? Where's the community's representative from the school board helping us to have a dialogue with you, to help you to make informed, educated decisions? I'd like to know. I'd like to know how this can happen. Anyway, I have 78 pages of letters from doctors, professors, scientists, outlining why schools are not the right place to build cell phone towers, and I'm submitting that to you today. And I do hope that you'll agree to have a meeting with me.
Thank you, Mr. Earl. Are there any other public comments at this time? Okay. Items 4.01 to 4.05 are consent items. Do I have a motion to bundle these items?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Do I have a motion to move these items from information to action?
Second.
All those in favor? Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the Board of Education approve contracts as listed on today's agenda, 4.01 through 4.05.
Okay. Mr. Gilleland.
Thank you, Madam President. Just in the interest of public disclosure, I've had to abstain on some prior votes with regard to printers and paper companies because of my work with Gilleland Group. But for the record, I do not have a relationship with any of the companies that are noted on item 4.04 and believe it's okay to vote for this today.
Okay. All right. Are there any other board questions or comments? Okay. All in favor? Motion passes. Item 5.01 are administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the personnel listed on the attached sheet be promoted or appointed.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor? Motion passes. Item 5.02 is personnel. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the board approve the actions as stipulated on the attached sheets.
Are there any board questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Item 5.03 is policy second reading. Ms. Ortiz.
Good morning. For the record, Jeanette Ortiz, Legislative and Policy Counsel. We have policy IIH, quarterly assessments on second reading, and we did not receive any public comments on this policy.
So, and this will come for us at the next meeting for final
Yes,
vote?
correct.
Okay. All right. Item 5.04 is also policy lactation accommodations, a policy GE. Ms. Ortiz. First reading.
Yes. So we have the Division of Human Resources brings policy GE, Lactation Accommodations, before you for first reading. This policy is new and has been drafted in accordance with the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act, which requires employers to provide reasonable lactation accommodations for a nursing employee for 1 year after the birth of the employee's child. This policy will be posted on the AACPS website for 30 days for a public comment period, and we can answer any questions you may have.
So, as you said, this is mainly, the changes are to cover federal law?
Yes, it is required under federal law.
Okay. Mr. Grannon.
Is this accommodation, is it available to students as well?
So this policy addresses employees, and the law addresses employees. So this does not address student accommodations.
Right. We could do more than just comply with the law, though, right? We don't have to do just the minimum. We could do more than that.
If the board wishes to amend the proposed drafting of this policy, yes, you are able to do that.
Did you all consider that? Are there any reasons that might counsel against doing that?
So we were focused on being compliant with the federal law and ensuring that we were already doing it in practice here at Anne Arundel County Public Schools. We wanted to make sure that it was writing and codified in policy so that employees and staff can refer to something written for guidance.
Has there been any logistical problem with students having the ability to have privacy for lactation needs?
I am not aware of that. We have not received any such information regarding student issues with this.
Ms. Sasso.
Addressing that same point, have we had any student that basically has had a child that has requested it or brings the child to school, or, don't know, have we dealt with it?
I don't have that
There's
information.
been no request in my 12 years here of the system where students requested to express milk after giving birth. We've had students who have given birth and have taken time off and returned to us. They've gone on, those young women have gone on home and hospital teaching. We've been able to continue their education, bring them back to school when they feel it's right and necessary for them and their new families. But not in the time that I've been working in the system have we had a student that's expressed an interest in expressing milk. And if they wanted to, I think we don't need a policy to allow that. I think we certainly could accommodate that. And as many of the schools have begun setting aside rooms and space to accommodate teachers as necessary on an as-needed basis, we certainly could do the same for students. But I'm not familiar with a case that's been requested in the past 12 years.
Can we just then leave this policy as is, and if in the future we have any student, just so that we don't create any issues? If it comes up, fine. If it doesn't come up.
Ms. Corbett.
Or would it be appropriate just to add "or students" after wherever we have employees and have it all as one policy, or would we need a separate student policy?
So I don't think it would be as simple as just adding students, because we reference the federal law, and so the federal law doesn't cover students, so it would have to be redrafted a little bit differently than that.
And just add something else in the background, like we wanted to also recognize that we might have nursing students.
And also this is in the employee policy of our code. So if the board would like to establish a policy regarding students specifically, that would go in the student section of the code. It would be a separate policy and regulation.
Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I seem to remember last year in the legislature there was some language that came out regarding pregnant students. Do we have a policy that covers that now, follows that law? There was.
Yes. So yes, that is correct. Last legislative session, and today is the first day of the new legislative session, they passed legislation on pregnant and parenting students and their absences being considered lawful absences under the law, and also provided required schools to provide specific accommodations for these students, whether it be home teaching or allowing them to come back at a later time after the birth of the child. It also addresses issues regarding, appointments and medical appointments, legal appointments, and things of that nature. This specifically wasn't addressed in that law. However, there was an emphasis on general accommodations for these students to ensure that they are receiving, the education, the quality education that they need and deserve. And we updated our regulation earlier this year in September on this issue, and it went before the policy committee, and we were able to discuss it just in compliance in accordance with the new law.
So would it be possible to perhaps look at that regulation again and maybe include something in there if regarding lactation for students if need be?
So I think it would be a separate policy and regulation, only because that deals specifically with attendance and lawful absences, and this is and that's also per state law and regulation. So if the board would like to establish a similar policy and procedures for students, I would recommend that it be done just a brand new policy and regulation in the students section.
So perhaps the policy committee could discuss this going forward and see if there's other counties if there's anything out there.
Yes,
to have that.
I'd be happy to do that. Yes.
Okay. So, all right, and so that is first reading, so this will now go out for 30-day public comment?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Item 5.05 is also a first reading, test administration and data reporting policy IJ.
Yes, so the Instructional Data Division brings policy IJ, test administration and data reporting, before you for first reading. This policy was last revised on September 1st, 2010. The updated policy includes updated terminology, such as we have references to college board examinations, and so we wanted to make that broader to be more encompassing of different exams that may be provided. So we've replaced that terminology, and we've replaced all references to college board to vendor, because there are various vendors. And the policy will be posted on the AACPS website for a 30-day public comment period, and we can answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Are there any board questions or comments? All right, we'll put it out there for 30 days.
Great, thank you.
Would you all introduce yourselves just so the
Yes,
board
I'm
knows?
sorry.
Got some new faces and your titles, please.
Good morning, Jason Dykstra, Executive Director of Instructional Data.
Good morning, Lee Mann, Senior Manager in the Testing Office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Item 5.06 is an action item, Superintendent's recommendation on redistricting. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation. Or do we have a presentation?
Yes.
Oh, we do have a presentation. Sorry.
Good morning. For the record, Alex Szachnowicz, Chief Operating Officer.
Lisa Seaman Crawford, Director of Facilities.
Greg Stewart, Senior Manager of Planning.
And while we don't have a formal presentation, I do have some remarks that will pertain both to this item 5.06 as well as 5.07. As you're aware, under the board's policy and state law, the superintendent brings forward his recommendations for redistricting to the board no later than the board's meeting in April. The item before you today is a request for the board's consideration to take these two redistricting items forward to a public hearing and a public briefing first, and then a public hearing that would be scheduled in conjunction with the board offices and the affected communities to both brief them as to the proposals and solicit input and information back from the affected communities. The vote that you're taking today prospectively carries no obligations or no implications other than simply allowing the material to go forward to that public briefing and the public hearing session. The actual vote that does carry weight and consequence by state law has to be scheduled no later than April 30th for redistricting to take effect into the following year. So I want it to be clear, not just for the board members, but for the public at large, that your vote today in no way, shape, or form has any bearing or implication beyond simply allowing the process to continue to the next phase. And with that, we conclude our remarks.
Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Would you like me to read it in its entirety? This is a recommendation that the board has seen previously, and it has not changed, but I'm glad to read it in its entirety if you prefer.
Go for it.
Absolutely. I'd be glad to. As stated, that I, the superintendent, had concurred with the committee's recommendation to take effect in the school year 2018-2019 as shown on the attached exhibit. The Maryland City Elementary School boundary should be redistricted from MacArthur Middle School to Meade Middle School. Rising 7th graders attending MacArthur Middle School living within the Maryland City Elementary School boundary would be given the option to be grandfathered for the 2018-2019 school year. Current 6th grade MYP IB students from Maryland City Elementary School boundary area should be given a preference to continue the MYP IB program within the MacArthur Middle School. And these were the recommendations by the committee, which I continue to support.
All right, do I have a motion? Second? Do I have a second? Okay. All right, are there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? All right, then we will, this vote is to move forward, to accept the superintendent's recommendation to move forward to a hearing. Or do I have to make a second?
So this is, so you're voting to bring this recommendation as worded to the public.
To a hearing. Okay.
Hearing.
So this, we're voting to move this forward to public hearing for the affected areas. All those in favor? Okay. And that date will be set in the future, coming up. Item 5.07 is also superintendent's recommendation on redistricting. And anything?
No comment.
So, Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. As the previous recommendation, I do concur with the committee's recommendation to take effect in the 2020-2021 school year with respect to redistricting kindergarten students from Ferndale Early Education Center to George Cromwell Elementary School and Hilltop Elementary School pre-K students to Ferndale. I recommend the redistricting students living on the Sawyers Lane and Vista Avenue from George Cromwell Elementary School to Hilltop Elementary School, effective in that same year, 2020-2021, as shown in Exhibit 1 in your documents. The rising 4th graders in school year 2021-2021 would be given the option to remain at George Cromwell for 1 year. That would be the grandfathering clause.
Second.
All right. Are there any board questions or comments regarding this? Okay. Any public comment? All right. All those in favor of moving the superintendent's recommendation to public hearing? Okay. And again, that date will be set shortly. All right. Item 5.08 is an information action item, Chesapeake Bay Middle School open space classrooms enclosure. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend board approval of the Chesapeake Bay Middle School open space classroom enclosure, schematic design, and design development.
So move.
All right, Ms. Nalley.
My question every time, how many more open space classrooms have we got? My goal is to have every one of them done before I go off the board.
So, as you remember, for the record, Alex Szachnowicz, Chief Operating Officer. As you recall, we've been tackling this issue through two different pathways. This is the last and final school to be tackled under the program formerly called Open Space Classroom Enclosures. So Chesapeake Bay Middle School will be the last one. Chesapeake Senior High School is currently under construction. We'll be tackling the middle school next, assuming that we get funding from the state and the county. We do, however, have a number of other schools that are still in the open space configuration that are being addressed through the CIP. So, for example, Rippling Woods would be one of the open space schools yet to be tackled, but it's contained within your 6-year CIP. So when that school gets comprehensively renovated or replaced, it will be addressed at that time. It simply would not be practical or make much sense to make that investment in Rippling Woods simply to tear it out, in 2 years' time or whatever. So, but this is the last one to be completed through that formal program that we initiated a decade ago. We began with 36.
I know. Oh, I know. What year was Chesapeake Bay Middle built?
75.
Because I, hating to date myself, remember walking through as it was being built. We went down to tour it, and we all thought it wasn't a good idea then. So just going on record as saying the teachers didn't think it was a good idea then. Thank you.
So, how many classrooms will the building now be reduced by? I know it's going to have reduced capacity after getting walls, which is not necessarily a bad thing because we want walls, but how many, it's going to go from how many classes to how many classes?
Yeah, we know what the state rated capacity would be, but the exact number of teaching station reductions, we don't have that. Obviously, through the construction, open space, no walls take 0 square footage. Walls have a thickness, a nominal thickness, but the more critical thing is to maintain compliance with the fire codes and ingress, egress requirements, et cetera. We're establishing formal hallways and safe discharge passageways for the occupants to get out of the building. That, again, takes square footage out of the building. So we do know the state rated capacity will drop from 2,058 down to 1,801 students. We can get a teaching station count for you, but we just don't have that at hand today.
And I know we use Chesapeake Bay Middle as swing space when we have construction with other buildings. Will the open space enclosure affect our ability to use the school for swing space?
No, we've contemplated that we'll continue to have that option available to us in the years going forward.
Will we still have that option while Chesapeake Bay Middle is under construction for the walls?
You certainly could. We don't contemplate that it's going to be occupied during that period of construction, but it can be done. It would just take a lot more orchestration.
Okay. And what's the time frame for this? When it should be finished, we hope?
We believe that we'd be able to, again, pending availability of funds, it would go out for bid this summer, so August of 18, with a scheduled completion date of summer of 2020.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. All right. Are there any other board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? All those in favor? All right, motion passes. Item 5.09 is an information action item, Glen Burnie Park Elementary School Gymnasium and Program Addition. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor? Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend board approval of Glen Burnie Park Elementary School Gymnasium and Program Addition Design Development.
Okay.
So moved.
All right. Are there any board questions or comments? I have one. I see on the design that currently there's 2 portables there. With the completion of this addition, will those portables be removed?
Lisa Seaman Crawford, Director of Facilities. Because those relocatables are built with the sound attenuation units, we will probably keep them there because as we look out for the projections, they will have an increased enrollment, so it would not be cost effective to move them out and then have to bring some in later. So they'll have a little extra room for a short period of time.
They'll still have those, but hopefully with the addition, we won't necessarily have classes out there.
Correct.
But just as a safety valve, perhaps, coming through.
And that's customary. When we complete construction, in many cases, we don't pull the portables out the first year. We sort of let things stabilize and watch the projections and enrollment trends over time. Sometimes things like a renovation or addition, we call it the new school effect, tend to attract youngsters into the building that formerly elected to be educated, through other avenues. So we tend to sort of be a little cautious about being overly aggressive in pulling those portables out.
All right. Are there any public comments? All right. All those in favor? Okay. Motion passes. All right. Item 5.10 is an information to action item. Capital budget transfer. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend board approval of the capital budget transfer fiscal year 2018 fund supplemental and transfer for Jessup Elementary School submission to the county executive and county council.
Second.
Okay. Are there any board questions or comments? I have a question. So this is an expansion on the original plan that we had for the school. We're adding on to the original design plan?
Not actually. So from the beginning, we we contemplated a base building, and there's always been what we call an ad alternate. So the drawings that the board has seen, that the state of Maryland has seen, that we've discussed with the county officials, have a base building and a pre-contemplated 8-room addition onto it. We did that knowing that there were a number of developments in the pipeline up in the Jessup area along the 175 corridor that when we began the Jessup program 2 years ago had not come to fruition, and we didn't know how they were ultimately going to play out. Over the course of the last 24 months, a number of those developments have actually now been approved. In fact, several of them are now under construction. So we're in a position where we're going to have to, instead of it being an ad alternate, we're going to activate that option and actually construct it.
So the original plans and design that we approved included this ad alternate as a possibility?
As did the information that the state of Maryland approved as well.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions? Any public comment? All those in favor? Okay. Item 6.01 is a review item, Minority and Small Business Enterprise Report. And I'll let you introduce yourself.
Good morning. Esther Avery, Minority and Small Business Office.
All right. Are there any board questions or comments on the Minority and Small Business Report? Mr. Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam President. The data that was collected here on MBEs, does that also include women-owned business?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Done.
Yes, I did want to say, but we're doing a very good job with this, and we're, yes, increasing our outreach there a great deal. So item 6.02 is a review item, award of contracts. Are there any board questions or comments on this item? Okay. All right. That's it, Mr. Szachnowicz. So, all right. The next board meeting will be Wednesday, January 24th at 7 p.m. The next policy meeting is Wednesday, January 17th at 1 p.m. here at the board offices. The next budget committee meeting is Wednesday, January 24th at 5 p.m. prior to the scheduled board meeting. Budget hearing tomorrow night here in the board offices at 6 p.m. and sign up to speak begins at 5 p.m. There's the budget workshop is next Tuesday, January 16th here in the boardroom at 6 p.m. The public is welcome to attend the budget workshop, but no public testimony will be taken. And Mr. Gilleland.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the board go into closed session to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter and to conduct collective bargaining negotiations or consider matters that relate to the negotiations.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned.